All right, so to start working on loading the files from the server, we have an option to use a static files loader. So
Okay.
to actually get to that, let's go back to the documentation. We do in Angular Translate, and we're going to look at static files loader. So to do that, we need to first install this submodule.
Okay, so this is another module that Pascal's created?
Yeah, so it doesn't come pre-packaged with it because you may not necessarily want to use it. So he abstracted it out to its own
Gotcha.
separate module, and you can pull it in when you want it. So we'll do that.
And in standard fashion, it's a really, really, really long name.
Of course. So I've already had it installed, so it should return back quickly. We're good.
Yep.
Now what we want to do,
We need files, right?
we need files, yes. So luckily I've already done that. We can actually remove these.
Okay. So let's go look at those files, because I remember we changed one or two things in them, so let's go look. Where do you put them?
Put them in i18n folder.
So your own folder within the website.
Yep. Let's minimize these so we can get a better perspective of what that looks like.
Okay. So inside of the same levels of our code.
Yeah, inside of app, I put them, you can put them wherever you want really, but this is just where I chose to put them,
Okay.
at the root of my app.
And if I put them on another server, I'd only have the problem with like cores, right?
Right.
Okay. Where we'd have to either allow cores or we'd have to have a proxy server or something else.
Yep. So then you just create JSON files for each language table that you have.
Okay.
So let's take a look at those. You can see it's just like what we had in code.
Okay, we get the same typo in there too, line 23.
923,
Activate DOD dashboard.
activated,
Sweet.
boom, and Spanish.
All right.
Okay. So to tell Angular Translate to load those, we're going to go back to config,
We should delete those two keys, right?
delete. Whoops, I guess it's not selected. There we go.
That usually helps.
Get rid of these, this ugly code. We can get rid of this.
No, yeah, because we're not registering them anymore. So
We're not
don't
going
need
to
either of
register them
those.
anymore.
Do we still need to register the available keys? Probably, right?
If we're going to still use this determinant, well, we can get rid of this for now, just to simplify things.
Okay.
And we'll say,
Why don't you just comment those out?
yep. And
All right.
we'll go back to saying translate provider, preferred language is EN again.
Okay, so we're just going to hard code in. Look, we're
Just
going to
for
use
now.
English for normal. That's the starting point.
Yeah. And then we want to tell it to use the static files loader. So translate provider.
Let's chain these.
Sure.
I'm tired of typing translate provider. I'm not typing it, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired of watching you type it.
So let's do that.
Cool.
Okay.
So you got our language, we got our strategy, but we still haven't given it the files.
Yeah. So what we're going to use is use static files loader. Yeah. And in here, it's going to take in a JSON object.
Okay.
And in that JSON object, you give it a prefix. We'll leave it blank for now, and a suffix.
Is the prefix like the name of the file, or is that like the path to the file?
That's going to be the path of the file,
Okay.
so that it knows where to go. The path in this case is going to be app i18n. And I believe this the trailing slash n forward slash is needed.
Okay. And that's going to be dependent upon where you host it all from.
Right, it's dependent upon your server and how you have it configured to host your Angular files. The suffix is going to be just JSON. So what this does now is it says, go get, for each language file that's needed, in this case we're going to start up using EN, it's going to really go and look for something like this. It's going to go /app, I don't know if this is visible as a comment. So
Yeah, just type it as regular code.
/app
Gotcha.
/i18n/en, so it'll inject the language translation table key,
Right.
.json. Whoop,
Right.
not .sun.
Okay.
So that's
gonna
what the
find
request will look like. It'll be an XHR request. So something no, I think we're good.
We got the language, we're loading the file, as long as the files are accessible.
Yep.
And then we got the key.
One thing to call out that we're just going to glaze over because we have our tooling does it for us already. You'll need to add the script since we did that Bower install for the static files.
Yeah, let's take a look. How many translate files do you have in there? So you've got,
Well, here I'm talking about we did Bower install the Angular Translate Loader static files.
Yep.
You need to make sure that script is there.
Okay.
For us, at least, using this tool, it helped just inject that already.
And we've already got the Angular Translate, and we've also got the Angular Translate message thing as well that we had earlier. The
Right.
message format.
Yep, Angular Translate is on line 59 here. Message format is on line 61, and then the static files loader is line 64.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
There's a whole. It looks like there's a whole bunch of other Angular Translate modules that you could pull in optionally if you want to do other things too.
Yeah, so a couple options are if you have an endpoint that can take an endpoint on your server, or maybe it's not even your server, it's another server that somebody else built out, that can take in the parameter of reading the language file you're using, and you would use a URL loader that the Angular Translate module has.
Okay.
You can also, another option is the partial loader. In that case, it would be maybe you don't want to load all your Angular translation tables in one fell swoop at the beginning.
Is that like if you had like one file that's got like 10 meg of translations?
Yeah.
You don't want to load the whole thing?
You can break those up by parts of your application.
Okay.
So a way of doing that is maybe like we would break it up by the admin part and the dashboard part if we wanted to.
And they're completely customizable, I assume?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So these modules are all, it's like a buffet. You pick what you want, you pull in what you want, you leave off what you don't.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Gotcha. And when you add those in, are they all part of the Angular Translate module name in Angular? Or do I have to add more of those as dependencies to the app?
No, they're all part of the Angular Translate module.
Okay, because we did that once, but I noticed we haven't had to do it again because it's all in that same module.
Yeah, it all goes under that same namespace. Really.
Oh, cool. Nice.
So I believe that should be good enough. So we'll come back over here.
Nothing like try it on the fly.
Yeah. It's getting an error connection. Oh, I think I stopped the server to get Bower install. So this time I'll write the full
Gulp serve dev.
gulp serve dev.
Which comes with Hot Towel. All right,
Load up
launches
the
it.
file. See, everything's loading.
All right, let's
So the
watch the network traffic.
Yes.
Prove it to me, Brian.
And we'll search specifically for I18N.
You got to refresh again, yep.
And so now
There
we
it
can
is.
see it went and got all our language translation.
Cool, and just go to admin and back. Let's just prove it's not like reloading it over and over again, right?
Yep.
And if we switch to Spanish, it's not reloading it. And
Well, for Spanish, it's going to go out and get Spanish. We'll see. Just
Right.
right there.
so
So
when we
now
go
it
back
has
to English,
Spanish.
does it get it again, or does it already here?
Nope. It already has.
Because it caches these in memory.
Correct.
Sweet. So I imagine you could store these in local storage or something. You could download them with the app. You could hard code them in the app. But getting these on the fly is probably a good practice.
Yes, definitely.
All right. And if you wanted to load these as the app loads, for example, let's say my app is loading and I know it's going to be English, like I have a default, here's the language I want it to start with. Would you then package that English translation with it? Would you hard code it in the app? How do you make sure when the app loads up, it's not waiting to get the translations?
Yeah, so I think those two options you described are the best way. You can either package it directly in the code like we were before, or you can set up your the delivery of the Angular app to include that on first load automatically instead of letting Angular Translate go and get it for you.
Or even just so like a loading symbol or something like that until that stuff's ready.
Correct. Yeah.
That's if you had a lot of that kind of data, I assume.
Right.
Okay, cool. So can you go back to the code? We've loaded this using, what was the name of that method? Load my Angular Translate stuff off of file, right?
Yeah. Use static files loader.
Okay.
Pass in a JSON object using prefix and suffix keys, and then the path to that, where that would be in your application, and then the prefix would be the file type, really.
Okay. And we still sanitize because that's a good practice.
Yes.
Why wouldn't that, is there a way to like set that as default? Why isn't that the default? Why don't you know this?
I don't know that. Yeah.
It seems like that's just a really good thing to do.
Maybe it's backwards compatibility.
Okay.
For older versions that didn't have that.
Yeah, because you can sanitize HTML in Angular as well. There's the ng sanitize module, for example. So, but that's not in there by default either. So I assume it's because it's app bloat, and you may not want to pull that in.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So you just loaded this stuff off of a file, but you talked about loading things off a URL. So, like if I had, let's say, a CMS, content management system, where people are entering these translations for me, because I'm hoping the developers aren't the one translating everything, because you already admitted you did the Spanish translations,
Yeah.
and you're not really sure if you did them right.
No.
Because it's not just strictly word translations, sometimes it's meaning or cultural translations.
Right. Yeah.
So if we had somebody who was actually trained to do this and entered it into a system, maybe that system outputs JSON files, hopefully, and puts them somewhere.
Right.
This code can somehow go read those?
Yeah. That's where the URL loader which is one of the other options that we would have to.
But
pull
isn't
into
it still a static file? Why do we have to give URL loader versus a static file loader?
Well, so because that would be on a separate server than the server that this is hosted on.
Gotcha.
Right?
So that one's the one that's set up to handle going to another server, like can handle cores and stuff?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so we can do a CMS. We're not locked into files or hard coding. We can get these files from another place, or even probably even call like an API if we had to.
Yeah.
Sweet.